Hi, this is Mark, and welcome to this special episode of Nerdology, sponsored by CSO Fanzine. And with me today, I have Simon Brett and Lee Rawlings.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, why have I got you two guys on?
Don't know. Why have you got us on?
You tell
Right,
us.
okay, well, let's end it there. No, we've decided to do a little bit of a promo for something called Phonicon.
Yes. We like to call it...
Tell everyone what it's about.
Yeah, we like to call it Phonicon. Not Phonicon, not get your phonic on and all that kind of business. It's a weird word, we admit, but it's basically a science fiction fantasy event that's happening in Exeter on April the 7th at the Exeter Phoenix. And the reason it's called Phonicon is, Simon?
We do a monthly radio show called The Phonic Screwdriver on a local Exeter community station, alternative community station, called Phonic FM. So therefore we thought, right, it's going to be a convention. You always stick con on the end of the convention name, so Phonicon. There you go.
Simple as.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So
what can people expect if they turn up on the day?
Well, as you walk up to the Phoenix building, you'll see a TARDIS on the outside, which is great. Straight away, you've got a full-size TARDIS looking at you outside this art centre. So you can play around and have your photos taken with that. As soon as you walk through the doors, which actually the Phoenix does look small on the outside, but it is big on the inside, chaps. No, seriously, it is. When you walk through, the world is your oyster. We've got so many rooms booked, haven't we, Simon? We've got an all-day cinema, which will be... It's kind of a small cinema. It was about seating of about 40, but it's really cool because you'll get local filmmakers. There's one or two national filmmakers as well in there doing little talks and screenings. That'll be all day from 10 till 6 or something, and then carrying on into the evening with Nick Boxer's Horror Night. Simon, do you want to tell people about the upstairs area?
The upstairs area will have a room full of traders and a room full of comic artists and writers.
It's not just Doctor Who, is it, that you're covering in the con?
No. I mean, well, we'll come to the main guests. Yes, there is a very, very strong Doctor Who flavour, but we're kind of going into sort of independent comics and science fiction, children's writers, quite a few brilliant artists as well. So lots of people to talk to and find out something new, really. It's a very good, really nice creative atmosphere. We've kind of it's kind of grown in a certain way, but it's become almost like a trade event in as much as there's a lot of creative people, writers, artists, people who really get into the nitty-gritty of stuff. So there are a few actors, but the majority of people there are creatives who are writing and creating something new all the time. So
that's exactly right. I mean, it's a real mixed pot of stuff, but these people were picked on purpose because the Phoenix itself it's got a lot of, it's very artistic and it's got a lot of rooms with certain resources. And for instance, we have the sound gallery downstairs, which is a full recording studio which you can hire out. It's all part of the building, but we're going to be opening it up and hopefully taking people down there to do some audio demonstrations and some Dalek sounds and all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of using what's in the building. And one of the main areas of the building, which is fantastic, is the auditorium. Is the stage and auditorium area where they normally have theatre. And we've got a whole bunch of great guests coming along. Philip Reeve will be opening the day. He's a great author of the series called Mortal Engines. It's steampunk for kids. Fantastic books and all that kind of malarkey. And he's a eccentric. I think he's really eccentric, but he dresses beautifully like this English gent. So I can't wait to get him on stage and start talking to him. He's a lovely guy. And then we've got the Star Wars contingent, Simon.
Yeah, we've got Pam Rose, who appeared in A New Hope, the first Star Wars film, Episode 4. She was actually an alien, kind of in the background in the cantina scene. But what's really great is you talk to people like this and you kind of get an essence of what it was like to film these films, as opposed to speaking to one of the main actors and what have you, who would probably tell the same story 1,000 times. You've got these people who were there when it was being made, when it was, when you consider we've got brand new Star Wars films being made, but we're going back to where it was all first created. So you've got Pam Rose and also a chap called Alan Fling, who played a stormtrooper, mainly in the carbon freeze chamber in The Empire Strikes Back. So he was the slightly shorter, stockier stormtrooper who was holding Han Solo as he went down into the freezing chamber.
I'm sure he'll thank you for saying that.
No, he said himself, if you're trying to recognise him, he's the shorter, stockier one. But he was also in Return of the Jedi, had a speaking part. He was one of the Imperial officers on the Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. Just before an A-Wing flies through the... he's the one who shouts out just before an A-Wing flies through the main window there. So... Anyone who knows the Star Wars films will know exactly what I mean. So
exactly. But he's also a costume.
and he's also a costume designer. You were about to say, Lee?
Yeah. I mean, he's worked on lots of films with lots of people, so we might kind of winkle out little stories and anecdotes from his other job as well in the film industry, because I think it's worthwhile kind of delving into the who these people really are as well, not just about what they've done on screen. After that, we've got Tony Virgo turning up. He was the director of King's Demons, which we were talking about recently on our Blue Box podcast. And
you're a big fan of that one, aren't you, Lee?
do you know? Actually, yes, I am actually now. I mean, I watched it first in the 60s, in the 80s rather, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is okay. It's a bit so-so. And then I saw it in the 90s, and I thought, nah, this is rubbish. And then I watched it again with completely different eyes very recently, and I just thought, no, I'm going to give this another go. And there are a ton of elements to it. The actual directing, not just because Tony's turning up, is actually very good, and the acting's pretty good as well. But the dialogue is very good, but the actual story, not very good. Master, complete waste. Turlo, nothing to do. So I've got a mixed feeling about that episode. But we have got the director turning up, but he hasn't. He's done.
He
lots
also
of other
worked
stuff.
on Early Blake 7 as well, didn't he?
Yeah, early Blake 7. He's done. I think I can't remember what the other things are. He's done so many. I think EastEnders, is it, and a few cop shows and stuff like that. But also, he was the head of drama. Is that right? For 2 years?
Yeah, for a couple of years in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's all. He's quite a big cheese really in the TV world, and he will be fascinating to talk to afterwards if you're interested in kind of the TV industry and how it all works. So yeah. After that, of course, we got Annika Wills, Simon.
Annika Wills, who played Polly during the 1960s, and obviously oversaw the Doctor in the first regeneration. So William Hartnell through to Patrick Troughton. So, and a lot of her stories are missing. So this is someone who can talk to you about the episodes you've never seen.
Exactly.
Because she was there.
Yeah.
So,
and she's done a lot of work with Big Finish as well. So we'll cover that angle too. We've also got Gary Russell turning up. And Simon Guerrier, and both of those have written Doctor Who novels. Simon has written Being Human and Primeval novels too. Lots of Big Finish between them. I mean, Gary directed, I think, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years worth of Big Finish material.
Yeah, he was quite heavily involved.
Heavily involved. I mean, he helped shape the whole sound and feel of those things. And
of course, he was editor of Doctor Who magazine for quite a while.
Of course. I mean, you see the list of what these people have done. There's so much. I can't remember them all, to be honest. I will do my research even better on the day, but I cannot remember because they've done so much between them. But so they're both there. And Simon is going to be. He's branched out into the world of filmmaking with his brother. And he's just finished a film, well, I say just, it was last year, with Louise Jemison and Mark Gatiss called Cleaning Up, and we will be playing that and talking about that as well in the auditorium. And the last guest of the day.
Well, we are very, very honoured to have Barnaby Edwards, Nicholas Pegg, and
Dan Barrett.
Dan Barrett, that's
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Who 3 out of 4 of the Cult of Skaro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Indeed.
The Dalek operators. I was about to say premium Dalek operators. What are they called? No,
Principal.
What's the word?
The hero Daleks.
Yeah, the main Dalek operators from the new series, who are lovely people, from what I can tell.
Yeah, they are.
And again, very, very talented. Barnaby is an actor, artist, writer, producer, again, heavily involved in the Big Finish. And meanwhile, Nicholas, again, the same thing, writing, what have you. I think he's involved with a lot of the DVD extras.
Yeah, I think he does quite a few of the
and
info
also probably the best biographer of David Bowie.
Ever, I would say. For sure, yeah, definitely. And Dan Barrett was one of the chaps who was kind of called up to say, look, we need another Dalek. And so he turned up to help. I think he was uncredited on his little scene,
On Doomsday. Yeah, Doomsday, he was uncredited, but he was there, yeah.
Was it Doomsday or was it Bad Wolf? Parting in the Ways. Parting in the Ways, I think.
Oh, sorry, I've got it the wrong way around. Yes,
Parting in
no,
the
you're
Ways
right.
was
Bad
uncredited.
Wolf.
And then Doomsday, he was finally part of the Cult of Skaro. So so those three guys are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun actually, because I've got a feeling they're going to be wanting to do some quite fun things. Plus an auction rather, and a raffle and all that kind of. So it's got that convention flavour, but all these little things going on the outside, because we've also got storytellers turning up, and I can't remember now. There's all kinds of face painters and balloon modellers and all that sort of stuff for the kiddies. But there's
And of course, in the evening, you've got a couple of music acts
exactly.
as
Yeah,
Simon, this is your
yeah.
baby, mate. This is your baby.
Yes, it doesn't end at 5 o'clock. Like some of the promotional material has gone out saying. It does carry on right into the evening, and the ticket price of £12 for adults covers the evening as well.
Yeah, 13 hours.
So you can either go over to what the cinema, as Lee mentioned earlier, it turns into Nick Box's Dead Good Horror Night, where he's going to be playing lots of horror shorts, independent horror shorts that he's kind of sourced from all over the world, actually, I think, as far as I'm aware. And he's going to play one of his pieces at the end and have interviews with him and one of the stars. But in the Voodoo Lounge upstairs, which was the traders' room, is going to be converted into... we're going to have 3 live acts. We've got Tom Baker.
The Tom Baker.
Well, depends how you look at it, really. Exeter's Tom Baker, who is a young man with an acoustic guitar. There's him. And then there's a kind of a retro 80s synth band called Low Tide Theory. You've got a new album coming out.
Yeah, very good too.
Yeah, they're really good, really polished and lovely. And finally, Momo Tempo. Who
Try to explain to anyone who hasn't heard of Momo Tempo, how would you describe it? I think I think he's great.
I think it's Yellow meets Divine Comedy.
Do you know,
that's how I see it.
That's a pretty good description, I would say. There's some brass in there as well, of course, and there's some absolute, there's some humour in it and comedy, but at the same time it's quite witty, intelligent, it's slick, it's synth pop. Yeah, but Yellow and Divine Comedy, I think, explains it really, really well.
I chatted to him last week, and he actually admitted to me that he is a closet geek, and... so this is quite a thing for him to be able to play. So I'm really, really chuffed to bits, because the guy is an absolute character and a very, very nice man.
Indeed.
So I'm really excited about it. I've named the evening do Phonicon and on, because it's just carrying on into the evening up until about 11 o'clock. So, it's not just day, it's the evening as well. Hang around. Oh, and also, of course, Lee, between the two, 6 and 8, I think...
We mustn't forget there's 2 things actually we've forgotten. One is the Geek Master General, or General Wong, as we like to call him, don't we?
Yeah.
He's still there? Oh,
yeah.
Cool. I keep worrying I'm going to fade out because this Skype keeps disappearing on me. We mustn't forget the marvellous General Wong, who will be in. He is our Geek Master General. He's going to run a quiz night from 6 till 8, and he is infamous down here in Devon for doing these, and it's fantastic geek nights that we go to, and he's going to bring these 2 or 3 teams together, hopefully with the existing stars that we have on stage. If they're still around, they'll join in. So that'd be great. That's bridging the gap between the bands and the main day. But we've also got, of course, just to throw in the mix, if you're into this sort of thing, a burlesque dancer called Mojo Jones, who will dance merrily to Tron, the Daft Punk track De-Rezzed, and pretty much take her clothes off. But the thing is, it's all done with in the best possible taste, and it's all artistic, and it's fantastic. It's great. I think she's only one of a few people in the world that does this nerd burlesque thing, and it's going to be awesome. She's got these glowing tubes all around her, and this little tiny bike that turns into a fan. It's just going to be good. So that on top of all of the family stuff on the day as well. So it's a real mix for everybody of all walks of life.
Something for everyone.
Oh God,
I think it's possible that Momo Tempo is going to talk to Mojo and have some kind of a Momo Mojo type thing going on.
Excellent.
Seriously, they're going to see what happens. But she'll be bridging the gap between the two bands,
She will, and like I say, that'll be late in the evening. So that's if adults want to just come along, that's fine. But the rest of the day is designed for families and everybody really. So come along. I mean, it's a ridiculously cheap price, I think.
There will be costume characters as well walking around. So we just...
God, how could I forget
Bit
this?
of cosplaying.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Scary Knights turning up. They're going to be turning up in things like somebody's going to dress up as the Flash in the Green Lantern, which is going to be great. But we've also got them dressing up as Pinhead and Freddy Krueger, just to scare a few people. And then, of course, we're getting the Southern Troopers. They're the Stormtroopers, and also X-Wing, who are a fundraising group. They're dressing up as Planet of the Apes. They have fantastic costumes. So we're going to have people wandering around looking absolutely, it's going to be brilliant. And John Freeman is a storyteller, steampunk storyteller. Yeah, loads. And
and of course, traders. We've got a local shop called Velveteen, who specialise in steampunk fashion.
They do.
And they're actually going to be installing themselves in one of the rooms and having like their own shop there, and hopefully have a couple of the girls dressed in their stuff walking around and so hopefully the atmosphere is going to be something else. I really hope so.
Cool. Oh, one person we haven't mentioned yet is our good friend J.R. Southall.
Who?
Of course.
Who are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, he'll be there.
Of Starburst magazine.
He'll be wandering around with his hands in his pockets, looking very cool, waiting for people to recognise him. If, in case you don't recognise him, we're going to put a really big sign on his back saying, "I am J.R. Southall. Please say hello."
Well, of course, I think he's going to be hanging around with the Milk guys, aren't they? Because Milk Publishing are coming down. And obviously, J.R. was the man who edited the original You and Who, and is also doing the second volume.
Yeah, which we're all in, I believe.
We are.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
There we go. So there you are. I mean, there's lots going on. I mean, if you go onto the website, which is www.phonicon.org.uk, and Phonicon is spelled Phon. God, how's it spelled? Phon. ICON. I can't remember to spell my own convention. It's ridiculous. Well, if you go on there, everything is on there, all the guests. In fact, I've got to say, if there's anybody out there that likes to hand out awards to the best website, please hand it to this one, because Simon Brett has designed this, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. For a convention site, I think it's amazing, absolutely, utterly brilliant. Well done, Simon.
Well, I just looked at the other ones and thought, I can do better than that.
Now.
Well, there are some really ropey ones. It's quite funny. But
no, there are,
anyway,
there
they
are
do.
a couple that are a little bit dodgy.
But can I just say the X-Wing one is excellent as well. The X-Wing one.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah,
they've got a lovely website as well. Yeah. Who are helping us on the day, and I'm not just saying that. That is a really nice website as well.
Yeah, it is good.
Well done.
I think it makes a big difference, and it's easy. It's easy to navigate. You put on all of the details about travel and locations and all that kind of stuff. All the guests have got their own separate little pullouts. You can just go and see all about that. Their biogs and their pictures. It just looks great, and it's very. You get everything you need on that website. So I'd go along and have a look at that.
Have we said where it is and when it is?
Yeah, April. I said it right at the beginning. It was April the 7th, which isn't long, and then it's all day. It starts at 10 o'clock, goes on to the evening, obviously till midnight or whatever. It's at the Exeter Phoenix, right in the centre of Exeter.
So if someone's listening and this sounds right up their street, it's quite central to Exeter, very close to Central Station railway station.
Absolutely.
It's a 5-minute walk, isn't it, from Exeter Central? So
yeah, it is, and also it's got a bus station and a coach station, and a horse and trap station if you really want, and it's even got an airport up the road, for goodness sake, so you can get here from all over the world.
I believe there's someone coming over from Belfast for this.
There is, yeah. He may get the prize for the furthest guest, furthest person coming.
Bless him.
Unless somebody's coming from Australia or Belgium or something, maybe. We'll find out, won't we? But so it's April the 7th. It's the Exeter Phoenix in the middle of Exeter. And like I say, it opens at 10 o'clock. You can book your tickets online through the Exeter box office, Exeter Phoenix box office, or you can turn up on the day if you want. We prefer you to book beforehand if that's all right, because it just makes it quicker on the door. But it's entirely up to you.
And all the profit goes to Phonic FM.
Indeed it does, to keep our community radio station running and our little show, our Phonic Screwdriver that we like to do every fourth Friday of the month.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
I hope it's a resounding success.
Let's hope it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do another one of these afterwards, and then we'll tell you what we really think.
if you're still in a fit state.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes, but I think it could be quite interesting talking about the organising, the reality of convention organising.
Yes.
It's yes.
Well,
It's a doddle from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. We'll sit down and write a book about it, Simon, shall we?
I think we should actually.
Yeah,
Either that or a blog. I do think we should. Well, I think maybe we should.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Mark, very much.
Thanks a lot.
Fast forward 24 hours, and I had the chance to catch up with Timo Peach, otherwise known as Momo Tempo.
But very, very good to meet him and see what's going on. And I love the Phoenix. I guess you've been in there, have you?
Yes, yeah, I've been on a few of his radio shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a nice space, particularly for you guys if you're going to be performing in it.
Yeah, we're not performing in the auditorium, but we are performing in the Voodoo Lounge, which is actually, I'm intrigued to find just a kind of drama practice room, but big enough to make. I think it could be a really good vibe in there. It's small enough to fill fairly easily, big enough to get the band in, and I'm having been down. I'm really looking forward to the night. So all good. Yeah.
Cool. Now, I've been on your webpage and I've looked at. I think there's a live clip. Was it one that you did, a gig you did in Bournemouth?
Yeah, there's a few snippets of us live. In fact, only this morning I've accidentally found some very generous algorithm has put one of my live videos on the NME website.
Oh, sweet.
Well, yeah, it is sweet because it looks way more credible than it is. And I think if the NME knew that I was on their website, they'd dismiss it fast. I think I'm the least likely new artist for them to champion properly. But that particular one you're probably talking about was a little edit of a concert we did at 60 Million Postcards in Bournemouth, which is probably the best venue in Bomo. And we played there a couple of times, hoping to get back again. And it's good because they have a great attitude to new music, and the crowds were always really fab to us. They really got it, even though most of them, they wouldn't know our stuff.
You certainly get a really good impression of the atmosphere from watching the videos. Everyone seems to be really into it.
They are. And in fact, the gig we did before that, they were even more into it. I remember the first time we played there, I thought, right, this time I'm going to have some space. Because one of the issues I always have is trying to take 3 or 4 horn players, plus drummer, plus a conga musician who could take up the stage all on his own, plus drummer, and a bit of my kit. I'm always the one that ends up with no space, ironically. So this time, I'm going to be out the front. And
you need all the space to do your moves, don't you?
Well, exactly. The high kicks, the whole lot. You want it in. So I set out my stall at the front and was all eager to have room to run around and high kick. And suddenly everybody in the joint just came right forward, right up to me. And so I was more or less performing in the audience that night, both nights. And,
crowd surfing.
Almost crowd surfing. There was nothing to jump off, sadly, but they did go crazy. And there's a couple of edits on SoundCloud taken from the 60mm gig that just sound like the best concert in the world. There's a live recording of Dead Good from there that does sound like a party, and it was. So, what we've learned is go to where the crowds are going to like you.
That sounds like a very good plan to me. I have to say, I'm really impressed by the idea of having live percussion and brass with an electronic kind of sound, because a lot of bands, if they're purely electronic, I don't think you get quite the same sort of buzz when you see them live.
There is an old adage that electronic music is a bit of a bugger to recreate live. And I remember some comment from Carl from Underworld, and this was years ago, saying on Radio 1, well, it's all on DAT, really, isn't it? And I thought, because it's a lot more stable. The truth is, trying to recreate sounds that are meant for the studio and meant for your headphones and meant to be analysed with your brain in meticulous detail, trying to do that live is a swine. There are just so many variables, and Momo Tempo's no exception. I've always found it tough to get the sound right live, and it's harder this way to try and get something as hairy and loud as a horn, and 4 of them, with something as hairy and loud as Simon the percussionist, and some twit at the front chapping along in a sort of slightly posh English spoken word, plus keyboard fizzy noises. It is a bit of a nightmare. So Tom, who's going to be doing the sound check at our fantastic, looking forward to it, gig at Phonicon this year, I'm kind of looking him in the eye, trying to get him prepared emotionally for what's coming. It's not easy, but when it's right, once we sound check successfully, then yes, you get the sheer cats in thunderstorms energy of live instruments with the kind of the buzz of dance music sounds.
It has to be said that everyone that's agreed to do this is effectively doing a little bit of a freebie for Phonicon, and I think that's to be commended. Is it something close to your heart, the whole sort of subject of nerdishness and being a bit of a geek?
I wonder whether you were going to refer to radio or science fiction. In a way, they both are. I am a sci-fi geek. I've been to a couple of science fiction conventions a long time ago. Somehow I got an actual academic degree qualification in graphic design 1,000 years ago. That was partly qualified by me writing a final year thesis on is Star Trek popular? How I got away with it, why I'm admitting it now, I don't know. But as part of research, I thought I'd better go and see what the geeks really get up to. And it was a slightly odd experience. It was sort of, everybody was jolly nice and really at ease with each other, like they found their tribe. And it was all a bit sort of Big Bang Theory before there was Big Bang Theory. And I relate to these people, and I know far too much about a lot of these franchises, but I don't tend to get into costume. I don't actually have a Starfleet uniform in the cupboard or a Doctor Who scarf.
I kind of tend to draw the line there.
It's not a conscious, I shouldn't do that, because so many fine people, including my mother, she has a Starfleet uniform, and I have taken her to, I did take her to one thing in Bournemouth years ago. USS Excelsior was around then, which was a kind of a, it's too much detail here, isn't it?
That's awesome.
Too much credibility. My mum was a Star Trek nut, and I took her to a fan convention, and she loved it. And lots of her fine, intelligent people were there with sort of Bajoran nose rings and all the rest of it. So, no, hooray, hurrah, splendid. We're going to have a great time, and I think the night is going to be very atmospheric. If we can get the people involved we want to for lighting and video and other things, I think that room up in the Voodoo Lounge is going to rock.
I don't doubt it for a minute.
But also radio. It's my favourite creative medium, even though I've never had my own show. And even tonight I'm on the local community radio station.
Yeah.
And I am thinking, one day soon I really ought to step up and do it. Because I think if my comedy starts anywhere, it is with Kenny Everett. And,
Right.
And of course he was a legend of radio.
Yes.
And the whole way he approached things, and the professionalism of people like Mark and Lard when they were on, or even Steve.
They were great.
Steve Wright drives me mad from a musical point of view, but the format of the show I still rather like. I like the idea that when you look at a certain time of the afternoon, where I've listened to it the first time in 3 or 4 years, driving back from Exeter the other night when I met Simon, and it was Red Nose Day as well. So I thought actually this is a time to listen to something like Radio 2 because I'll have lots of people in, and I like that structured format of skits and things happening at a very regular time of the day. It makes the most of radio, which is something that can go with you throughout the day and be a kind of comfort blanket. But what independent radio can do is what radio's best at, in a sense, which is kind of trying things and being mad.
Yeah.
And so the idea of hanging out at a recording studio, just blathering on, which I think it will be tonight on Hope FM in Bournemouth, I love it. So I want to come down and be on Phonic FM, because these sort of things need supporting and championing, I think. They're a voice for individual local talent as well.
Do you find it's difficult sometimes as an artist to try and get your message out there, particularly with the playlist system that they tend to favour on the likes of Radio 1, Radio 2?
It's basically impossible. Something like Radio 1 defines itself, and has for a long time, by new music. But they are inundated because Radio 1 is almost unique in its ability to reach the world with one record play.
Yeah.
So they would be swamped. And also they have ways of being found and reaching people. And I've always wondered how anybody wants to be a gatekeeper, wants to be a guardian of new music, because most of what you hear will be not inspiring, because people are having a go, which they should. But I did manage to get onto BBC regional, BBC Introducing in the South, which went out across 3 of their radio stations in a simulcast. end of November last year, and they invited us in out of the blue to do a whole live set. We did 4 tunes that night. Yeah, it was great and surreal, because when they say come and do the live lounge, what they don't tell you, they give you this sheet of information about where to find them, timings, all very professional. What they pertinently don't tell you is that BBC Sussex is behind the gift shop on the Queen's Road, and the live lounge isn't just behind the gift shop; it is the gift shop.
I think I've seen a clip of you performing in the gift shop. It's very good.
Performing in the gift shop, exactly, Mark. And it's quite odd. There's DVDs of every BBC thing you can think of, and cutouts of the Doctor and whatever companion it was they had in their cardboard cutout in the window. And the homeless chap locally sort of gets a concert and stands at the window, and people come and go in the Tesco over the road while you're blathering about on the radio. So surreal and tremendous fun. And I think we brought a good atmosphere to it then. But again, there isn't Momo Tempo in particular, and a buffoon like me, doesn't have a natural audience. The thing with Momo's sound is that it sort of doesn't appeal to anybody as a niche, but kind of appeals to everybody, which I notionally love, but is practically tricky, because the way to really build an audience is to go to one tribe, if you want to use that word, and do stuff for them.
Yeah,
you get popular within that. That is the way to do it. So if it's the cabaret circuit, if it's dance music, if it's any number of different scenes that you go to and you try and rise up to, and then with a good profile and good people behind you loving you for what you do, you can maybe break out of it. Well, I've just never been able to do that.
It must be very restricting if you're artistic to have to narrow yourself down to one very narrow view.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds... Were I to say that of my own work, it would sound pretentious and I'd be slapped. But you're right, that in a sense, what I do is sort of a bit bigger than that, and what glues together my sound is my idiotic personality. So something like The Golden Age of Exploration, which is the first Momo Tempo album, I wrestled with that for years to get the sound right and to get all these different tunes to hang together legitimately and it not be too much of a swerve between styles. But actually, they do sort of just about hang together because the production all does sound like Momo, and there's my voice linking it together, and there are themes that make you feel like you're just about on the same page with this artist all the way through. And I like that. I want people to be enjoying the theatre of what's coming next. This shouldn't fit, but it does.
I think one thing that struck me very much from having heard the material I have is it's very, very difficult to put humour into pop songs and not completely ruin them.
Now,
but you tread that line very well.
Are you implying that there's something funny about my music? That wasn't intentional. I didn't put anything funny in there. What are you laughing at?
Lyrically, you've got some really nice humorous moments in there, and it works really well.
I take that as a huge compliment, actually. Probably all I really want in life is people to tell me I'm funny. In fact, years ago, I got a random call to go and play in a theatre in the West Midlands, in Birmingham, the Alexandra Theatre. It was a kind of, back in the mid-noughties, out of the blue, somebody found me on the internet, said, we're doing a project that highlights unknown people. I love what you do. Come up and play. And I ended up opening the show.
Wow.
And it was a showcase of umpteen bands like Live Aid in the lovely big old Alex Theatre there, which I later discovered was where my parents used to play. They were in the Doyley Card Opera Company, and when they toured around the UK, every time they got to Birmingham, they played the Alex. So actually, they were suddenly telling me all these stories of one FA Cup final when the boys of the chorus were actually, their dressing room was under the theatre, and they were all crowding around a little black and white portable telly, and somebody significant scored, and they all cheered, and the stage manager rushed out and went mad at them. Lovely little vignettes, and I wandered around feeling terribly at home in a theatre. I think I feel as home in a theatre as I do in a radio station, even though I've never properly worked in either. And they had me sort of performing with some dancers and stuff up there. But afterwards, the local radio person had sort of helmed it, and she interviewed me. And afterwards, I walked out the front to see whether anybody was completely ignoring all my merchandise, which they were. And this young couple was stood at the back, and I walked past. And you know that effect that all of us feel when somebody off of the stage walks by. It doesn't matter who they were. You just have a moment of, oh, you were from up there. And I happened to notice her sort of look a little bit, wow, you're the bloke from the stage, as I walked past. And the funny thing was, she just blurted out, you're really funny. And I stopped and shook her hand and said, yes, forget the years of crafting my musical art. I'll take that. Thank you.
So is there a frustrated comedian inside?
Well, no, not very frustrated. It comes leaking out all the time, and I think to be told I'm funny is probably all I want. But yes, funny in pop music is very hard, and that's why one of the songwriters I most admire is Neil Hannon from the Divine Comedy.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Because not only is he a baritone, so I can actually sing his songs in the bath, okay, but he does come closer than anyone I know to make you both laugh and cry in a song.
He's got that melancholy, hasn't he?
Oh, he's astonishingly clever. I think he's more of a big old weepy romantic than his reputation lets on. I think he's seen as edgy and funny because he is. The wit and the cleverness in his work is outstanding. But actually, he's even better at writing a melody. His songs are beautiful, but underneath it, you'll then have these... the example is his best-known song, which is the developed theme from Father Ted, which is Songs of Love. Yeah. And that song is as clever as it is hilarious, as it is genuinely moving, all in about 2.5 minutes. That is clever, and I aspire to being that clever.
I think one of my favourite songs of his was called Certainty of Chance.
Oh, the Certainty of Chance. It's epic and enormous and wonderful. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's in fact, was it the Certainty of Chance that they used the end of when they rebooted Tomorrow's World just before they killed it off? The theme tune was actually that. As a nerdy fact for you, everyone. Yes, well, we can geek off about Neil anytime, and I cannot for the life of me work out why I'm not great showbiz pals with him already. I personally think me and David Tennant should go out on the lash any day of the week, but the tiny issue is they have profiles and I don't.
That's how it is at the moment. You never know.
I don't know. I have a profile in my own head, and actually locally, yes, I'm just enjoying getting on with what I'm getting on with, and I've had so many people lately come out of the woodwork and be very generous in the way they're retweeting and commenting and saying this is good, and I'm just doing what I've always done and enjoying the audience that do love it. They're really keen.
We were talking prior to recording proper about a track of yours called Nudge.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Nudge. Well, it was the first release from the forthcoming new Momo Tempo LP, and it sort of leapfrogged the tune that's currently out, Undo, because that was recorded exactly a year ago and was about to be the first thing I revealed from the new material. And then I got a call from Jeff Fuchs, who works with numerous projects down in the West Country, and essentially tries to bring together, through a project called the Visual Soundtrack, artists, music artists and filmmakers. And he found a little bit of budget to create some creative content for the Cultural Olympiad last year, specifically linked to Weymouth, which is, of course, not far from between where you are and where I am. And he put me together with a local film company that a couple of my friends knew, but I didn't, called Love Films, and said, guys, we've got a micro budget, but get together and make a tune to be filmed, to be screened in a facility called the ICCI 360, which is a facility and a project coming out of Plymouth University.
Right.
And it's a 360-degree format for film. And they're looking to make content for these geodesic domes that they erect at various places, festivals and all over the place. And they need more and more content filmed in 360 to be able to screen. And they were taking their biggest dome, a 6-metre by 60-metre dome, down to Weymouth seafront for the entire summer in front of the theatre there. And they needed stuff to go in it. And Jeff loved my work and said, get together with Love, make something fab, put it in. And I remember just meeting Georgie from Love and the boys in there. I went in after a late night finishing a TV soundtrack, sort of 2 a.m, getting the files off, and I blundered in and I went, hi, I'm Timo. I'm a slight weirdo buffoon, and we've got, a week to come up with something? I haven't really got a tune. I've got 10 seconds of a riff. What shall we do? And they looked at me and were probably thinking, what the heck have we got ourselves into? And Georgie, with great professionalism, said, well, I think you need to start by writing some lyrics so we have some idea of what we can be making the film about. So,
fair comment.
It was fair comment. So I went away, took this riff away with me that I'd had in mind, and came up with lyrics around the concept I'd had in mind, zapped them back. And those guys, they didn't just get their heads around a concept for it, loosely along the style of Momo's brand. they also got their heads around how to make a film for 360 degrees. For example, on screen, there is no exit. So how on earth do you segue between scenes when there's no left and right stage off?
It's a bit of a head-do.
It's a bit of a head-do, and they got around it. And so now on YouTube there is a sort of standard 16:9 film cut of it, but doesn't do justice to what it's like to stand in a massive dome and be surrounded by multiple copies of yourself dancing to your own insane bit of music. And it was, by all accounts, one of the most popular tunes, naturally, of the summer's playlist in the ICCR 360. And it was a dementedly brilliant thing, and Love did an epic job on it, especially given the timescale, and it's proved very popular.
Excellent. So can people still check that out?
Yeah, the YouTube channel for Momo, which is /Momo Tempo, Nudge is on there. And actually you can see a kind of flat version of the whole 360 one as well, if you're intrigued to see how many me's there were all dancing at once and how they segued around. And yes, it was a jolly, positive, fun experience. 6.5 hours of dancing is what Georgie and I say to each other whenever we see each other, because that's what it took on my part.
Well, it saves on the gym membership. I really love the video for Undo. I think it's fantastic.
Yes, we filmed that. Well, thanks. We filmed it in November, and it was with my good friend Benny from Rampage Studio, who we've worked with lots. I've done lots of soundtrack work for him, and they've helped us with other creative projects. Mm-hmm. But we'd always wanted to do a video and finally had a window to do it, and Undo was the beast. I managed to then bring that forward and release it. And we actually first put it up on the night of our BBC Introducing set online so we could tell listeners to go find it. It is, it's tremendous fun to finally be in front of the camera, and I think in some stupid, goofy ways, Momo Tempo makes even more sense when you see my idiot face twitting around. And an interesting little story there is that we filmed against a green screen because it's very cartoony and sort of done a faux 60s style like Momo Tempo's brand, and we needed someone conspicuously girl-shaped for the scene in the middle of the story, and Carlos, who was co-directing it, he said, well, my housemate next door is free. She's currently working on an event she's planning, but actually she might be prepared to come in. Bless her name was Suki. She came in, was the consummate professional. She just went, right, okay, I'll get some sort of flared 50s dresses. I'll get one out. And she pulled all the right shapes because she was only a silhouette in the video, and absolutely nailed it and did less than an hour's work, completely made the video work, and then went back to her job. I mean, that kind of creative flexibility is to be applauded.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the end result is brilliant. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out on YouTube. You can also go to, I believe it's momotempo.co.uk.
Yeah, it's on there, along with other things.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned you're recording the new album.
Yes.
How close is that to being completed?
Well, it is. I'm intending to have it out in the summer sometime, in inverted commas. The entire thing is now mapped out. I now know conceptually how it runs from beginning to end, and the sketch mix is down for basically everything, and I'm sort of in the process of filling in the gaps. So I think by Easter I'll have the tunes fleshed out to their proper length as very, very rough sketches. There's one or two that still need... I mean, in fact, the tune that I want to be the next single... I still don't know what it's about, which is ridiculous. And others are much more down the road, and they're written and fleshed out. And I think straight after Easter, I'm hoping to start doing some sessions with the brass guys and some more percussion sessions with Mark, the drummer, and Simon, the conga player, and others, and also getting some other people in to do various things. And then string sessions and things. So I'm hoping that by the summer we'll have her kind of mastered and down. And there are tunes on there that when we share them live, I think people will, those who've been following Momo, will instantly not understand them not having been there the whole time. They'll fit in a treat. So I absolutely can't wait to share an awful lot of these tunes.
That sounds great. So when it comes to the writing process, do you tend to jam with your fellow musicians, or is it something that you personally do on your own and then you take it to the guys and say, look, this is what we're aiming for, or how does it work?
It's kind of different every time, but at the moment it's been many years since I just jammed around and got ideas with people. And I think if I was in a band proper, we do that kind of thing. It would be healthy to sort of improvise and muck around that way. But actually, because Momo tempo's me as a producer, effectively, and they come in as session musicians and the live band, in one sense, it helps everybody know where they stand, and also it means that there's a chance at least of it being single-minded because it's coming from somebody with a vision for it, i.e. me. Whether it's a good vision or not is all the pressure. But so I tend to sit down and an awful lot of these tunes started with riffs. There's a few years of dictaphone, hilarious dictaphone things from me. It just fresh out of the shower usually, or wandering around somewhere, just putting down a naff riff for me to remember what it is.
So you're missing a trick there. You need to have those as hidden tracks at the end of your albums.
Yeah, you're never going to hear them. I know that they'll come out when I'm dead, but really it's very, very riff heavy, this. I mean, I tend to write very strong tunes and riffs anyway, but this is, a lot of these are driven from the beats and the riff up. And so more of these than normal. I've had a bit of a challenge working out conceptually what they're about and how much lyrical content to have. But I write songs from every conceivable point of view. Sometimes it's just a melody in my head. Sometimes it's a riff, more the bass end of things. Sometimes it's a whole stream of kind of almost poetic spoken word that I then have to fit around things. Sometimes it's rhyming couplets like songs. Sometimes it's a chord sequence. It's every conceivable way, really, that things come to me, and that's reflected in the albums. The Golden Age is clear proof of that, and this one will be as well. I can think of numerous tunes in my head that all start from different points of view.
It keeps it quite fresh as well, because sounds like you're mixing things up.
Yes, and I want that. I enjoy taking people on a journey, Mark. That's why I like the album format. I think you should start and finish and go somewhere in the middle, but hold the hand and make it, and not have swerves that are so harsh they don't feel like they fit.
Do you think we're in danger of losing that because of the download culture?
People say that we are. In some sense we are, but really I think that as with all technology, human truth will out. So in the 60s, when they thought we'd get rid of paper and everything would be made of plastic, that didn't happen. We make more paper than ever because it's a very human and practical resource, and plastic does a billion different very practical jobs, but none of them involve making an entire house. Brick does that, and wood is a format that a material that we love because it's fundamentally human somehow. And I think the album format, although in a sense it's artificial, it will endure because people like it. It just won't be ubiquitous. And that's true of all technology formats, that people cry that they're going, but actually markets move on and formats move on and they find a new level. So vinyl isn't ever going to disappear, I think, because nostalgia keeps it alive. And vinyl's been huge for years because of DJs. It's only now, in the last sort of 5 years, has it been slipping away properly from DJing culture. But still, bands love to put out things on vinyl. And fans actually like them as mementos. So vinyl has a place, even cassette has a place. I can think of two people on Facebook who I'm sort of chums with. One of them's putting out their new album only on cassette, and another one's putting it out on vinyl as well as CD and download. It's mixing it up.
I think there's something quite satisfying about listening to an album from start to finish. Something like, I don't know, Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Yes.
You stick that on, you listen to it. It's a journey, as you say, going through the album. The thing that kind of detracts from that somewhat about a download is that in most cases you can pick and choose the songs that you want to download rather than download the album as in an entirety. Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, it's the good thing and the bad thing of now. In fact, my latest blog post, I was posting about The Story of Music, Howard Goodall's fantastic 6-part series. And in a way, that programme, although it seemed he carries himself in a very kind of calm, almost academic way on screen. He's not a kind of show-busy TV type at all. He's a musician and a very nice chap. But actually, nonetheless, he could only have made that programme now because he is of a generation just a little bit older than me that appreciates mixing it up. Yeah. And now, even in my lifetime, things have changed from the elite of music and the pop of music being very separate things to them coming together again through, film music and all sorts of other ways. And so the shuffle generation is unlike any 20th century youth generation, as is often said, in that they're quite happy to have a whole random collection of things. The juxtaposition of differences is what thrills a lot of teenagers, or at least they think it's okay. Whereas when I was younger, You were supposed to define yourself by one genre, by one tribe, and that's
I've never quite subscribed to that myself.
No, and an awful lot of people never did. And the lovely first lady of Momo, my wife, always felt that way when she was a teenager. That people said, "Oh, what music are you into?" And she just never had an answer. She, well, I just know if I like it, and that's totally fine. Everything's good. And so being able to make your own playlist and define yourself by it is fun. It's more playful. It's more accessible. Digital's brilliant.
I think that's one great thing about digital, sorry to interrupt you, is you talked about kids getting into music, and they've got this huge wealth of tracks to choose from. You can go right the way back and just pick out the most obscure piece of music and discover something new.
Yes, in a sense, I know a lot of us who have grown through the transition period from analog to digital, which is actually, I think, has been a fascinating period to live through. I know a lot of us will feel the instinct to feel that this is devaluing everything, and in a sense, it really is, because when you had to, beg, borrow, or steal information about, well, your favourite science fiction TV show as much as your favourite band, because there just wasn't the volume of information and access from fans to generate content, because that didn't exist. It meant that every scrap you found was precious beyond belief. And it is genuinely a shame that that's not the case. But this is the real world now. It was always the inevitability of what happens after an industrial revolution. There was going to be more stuff and more choice. And then the onus is then on us as individuals to be responsible editors for ourselves and for each other, and to seek out quality. And yes, it means there's just a lot more stuff, which means proportionally there'll be a lot more rubbish stuff. But frankly, that's democracy. We should all be able to have a go and not fear the technology that allows even idiots like me to make music. We should just have a go, and the quality of your ideas, the most old-fashioned thing ever, and the quality of your craftsmanship will be what comes out in the end.
So you're going to be appearing at Phonicon. You've got the new album coming out later in the year.
Yep.
What else have you got planned? Is there plans for a tour?
I'm trying to. The brutal practical truth is getting people to let original new music play anywhere. Knocked on a lot of doors. The festivals are where new music plays, but of course everyone's queuing up, and the record labels and others always get in there first. And it's just beyond human wit of people running these things to get through the deluge of requests of new bands and find the good stuff, and they can fill their playlists easily. So getting in there, everyone says to me, "You should be playing Festival." I'll say, "I know, it's perfect," but everyone wants to play there. Yeah. And people will say, "You should play the Llama Tree." I'm going, "I know, but they have everybody." So there are so many places to play. And also, when you're taking a 7-piece band out, it's got to be a space physically big enough and an audience that makes sense of it. So, yes, I want to be doing that. But then the local venues, especially in Bournemouth, there's nowhere to play that is championing new music other than 60 Million Postcards, which is fab in every sense. But it's the one in town centre. And then there's a brilliant little place in the heart of Boscombe called the Cellar Bar, which is a fantastic bastion of creativity. But as the name implies, it's not big. In fact, that's what's brilliant about it. It is down in the cellar under Chaplin's, and every time I've been in there, I thought, I love this place, but I can't picture half my band fitting on the stage. Never mind the whole Earth, Wind and Fire setup we've got. So it's hard to find venues to play. I want to tour. I want to take it out to people. I want to push copies of the album in people's hands. I want to show off at the front, and it's very hard to find opportunities to do so. But that said, Momo Tempo and the Electropops Orchestra, they're a bit special to see live. We'd never do a tour like a band of 20 back rooms in pubs. We can't fit. It wouldn't work. I think it needs to be a bit special to see us live, as much as I'd do it every night of the week if I could. I think it's better that it's a bit of a rarity and you get your ass along when we play, because you won't see it very often.
I'll absolutely make sure I'm there at the front. I'm not sure I got your dance moves, though. That's the only thing that worries me.
No, but, all you've got to do is think dad dancing and you're halfway there.
Ah, well, I can do that.
Stick your bum out and just sort of, walk while running, and almost a chicken impression. I mean, frankly, Mark, anything goes. Just express yourself, man. Let it out.
You may regret saying that. I love the lyrics on Dead Good. It really, really, it's kind of like it's getting a bit existential, isn't it?
It is. It's me, asking some good questions and being a twit at the same time. It was actually a tune that started life for a little promo. It's on a corporate video from years ago for somebody, and it's one of the rare occasions I thought, Well, I do sometimes do this. I think that could go somewhere else. It's almost too simple, but it does really work, and everybody loves it. It does sort of hit the sweet spot a bit. So fleshing out the lyrics into that kind of. Obviously, I wrote it when we had all the riots at the end of 11, and I thought, there's a little bit of a chappy challenge there, I think.
Bells all ringing, some chap shouting and the sound of feet. A lick of orange lights up the street. In a daze I turn about and see the shop lights all smashed out. I stand in muffled, mute incomprehension. Am I looting? I cannot run. The feds arrive and pull out guns. Why am I here? What am I doing? Then I spot I'm holding something. Yeah, I'm holding trainers. They're not cheap. Boy, what a time to quantum leap. It's at these times one feels one should have put a little more effort into getting good. Before you go, you'd like to know you did some good or a good show. So if it's good to be alive, perhaps it's high time that I try to kill my speed and pop the hood and tune things up a bit. You know, try actually getting a bit dead good. I drop the loot and with a sigh, I pull undone my banker's bonus tie. It's political, isn't it? I can tell it's a bit political. Okay, here we go with the tune. Dead good. Why not try getting dead good? So there I was, a normal day, twittering some thoughts away, some helpful missive, misinforming someone about something, perhaps the merits of Helvetica, or some phenomena about the media. So good job done. I saunter out into the sun. As I queue for cash, two chaps nearby are reminiscing about how time flies. 6 tours of duty, the first chap, Lee, now runs a homeless charity. How'd you move on, he says. The other guy, Jeff, spent frontline years in the RAF, now studying his PhD in disaster aid optometry. Leaving the forces, that's unnerving. It's not Mac .9, but I'm still serving. Yeah, and once again, I feel I should have put a little more effort into getting good. Before you go, you'd like to know you did some good or a good show. So if it's good to be alive, perhaps it's high time that I try to take a stand how heroes stood. And maybe, actually, just for once, try getting dead good. Try doing that for a change. It's about time, Mr. Peach. Come on, Peach. Dead good. Dead good. I can see you've got to be the very best that you can be. I think this daily. future seems to be hinging on me. That's it. I'm gonna stand in the mirror and tell that bloke to get good. Buck up your old ears to defend the poor and play it queer. I tip my cap, for I have made a promise to start keeping promises. Yeah, good luck with that. I can see you've got to be the very best that you can be. I think this daily. Oh, it's obvious. But the future seems to be hinging on me. Here's with me. Oh dear. Oh, it's obvious. Oh dear.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to have this chat.
No, excellent. Really, thank you for inviting me onto your show, and very nice to be a guest. And thanks for enjoying it, and I hope you continue to.
That just about wraps up another show. Thanks again to Simon, Lee and Timo. If you want to get in touch, you can contact us via email, and that's nerdologyuk@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter, which is @nerdologyuk, and we also have a Facebook page, so if you want to come along and like us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/nerdologyuk. You can find more episodes on iTunes. We're also on an app called Stitcher, which is available on iOS, Android, and Kindle Fire. And we're also now added to the podcast directories of BlackBerry and Windows Phone. So you can get us pretty much anywhere now. So thanks again for listening. Till next time, goodbye.
Bye.